You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Every Tuesday, our good friend Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger, good enough to join us, talk some Cruton. Shady, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
Really, really well. I was out at the open practice for LSU on Saturday, and man, the coaches clinic was going on. So there was a ton of coaches, but Shea, recruits everywhere as well. Is that a normal thing for that final weekend? It would feel like with this weekend, with spring game coming up, this would be the big weekend.
Yeah, they pretty much every practice, I would say, even the Tuesday, Thursday ones. Look, they had a handful of guys there today. Multiple top 150 prospects were at practice, and that's on a Tuesday morning. So certainly the weekends when they scrimmage on Saturdays are the big event, and they'll have a loaded visitor list for this weekend, the spring game. And obviously there are a lot of schools that are sort of kind of competing for guys to get on campus, with spring games being on the same date for a number of different SEC teams. I don't have it in front of me, but a lot of them play this weekend. So we'll see who all gets to campus. But yes, they do put a major emphasis, as much as I've seen compared to some of these other schools, on getting kids in for practice rather than just getting them to campus for, team meetings and to tour and take photos and all that. I mean, I think they want them to be there to watch their position group and then there to sit in on a position meeting so you can kind of get an actual feel for what it's like to play at LSU.
A lot of families there as well, Shea. It wasn't just the recruits on Saturday; like their moms and dads were there as well with the young men. You can tell it's really a focus for the staff. What are what's the recruiting calendar the weekend like this weekend with the spring game?
Yeah, so they'll have kids will start coming in. What does the game start at 1? So guys will start getting in Saturday morning or Friday night, and then they'll have different events. Whether it's you haven't visited before, well, you'll take a tour of things and go do photos and all that different stuff. If you have, you're probably hanging out, eating, meeting with your position coach, all that. And this is where the off-field support comes in, where all these staffers sort of hang out with the family and get to know them well, and that are a big reason why a lot of these kids commit to schools, because they get a comfort level with staffers who work in recruiting or personnel or whatever it might be. So it's sort of all hands on deck, really, Matt, this weekend, and it'll go through the night. They'll have dinner after and all that, and I wouldn't be shocked if they came out of this weekend with a commitment or maybe two.
There's a couple of names that we've been talking about pretty consistently. Are there any new names that seem to be bubbling that could be close to popping for LSU?
Yeah, the news of the day, 100% is in, and that's that Alexandria Senior High running back who's going to be a senior, JT Lindsey, got offered. And for those that don't know him, look, he had right at 1,800 yards, 28 touchdowns for Ash as a junior this past season, and had kind of flown below the radar for some reason, but months ago, he had said, hey, look, LSU and Frank Wilson have been talking to me. We've known forever that LSU is chasing Harlan Berry and James Simon, 2 top 10 running backs. And here comes JT Lindsey, who he still isn't ranked by some services, Matt. But back in February, when we did our kind of debut of the On300 and really ramped up these guys who are going to be seniors, he went from unranked to top 150. He's the number 11 running back in the country. And he started to pick up more offers, and I think that LSU got him on campus today. Again, he made a campus visit with his family last month. They got him on campus today, and Frank Wilson brought him in his office and said, you've got an offer. So now the running back board is expanded to 3. And as James Simon continues to make visits, I've always considered LSU to be the team to beat. But look, they've got Harlan Berry on board, number 1 running back in the country. And then from talking to JT Lindsey today after his visit, or kind of during his visit after he got the offer, he was thrilled and said, look, I'm just a kid from Ash. Like, I hear about Jacoby and making it there and now being a starter. I hear, see what DJ Chark did. So for a kid like that from that area to get an offer from LSU, he said, is something that he's dreamt about since he was a kid. So I think this would be one you look at as you put him as a high possibility that with a green light, he ends up being in the class.
Is that a backup plan, Shea, or would they really take 3 running backs in 2025?
Well, a top 150 player, number 11 running back's no backup plan for sure. I also think it's the reality that they're going to keep the best guys home. And right now we're calling their running back room shallow to an extent. Obviously, depth-wise, they have a lot of talent. But with Trey Holly not currently with the team, you're bringing in Durham, who's fantastic, but he'll be a freshman. You've got a veteran in Williams who will be on his way out, and now you're kind of seeing maybe the start of the Caleb Jackson era. You knew they'd want to add two, and they'd been after those two guys, Barry and Simon, from the start. But it's no shock at all that it expanded to three because they had been on Lindsey for a while, and look, he's been tearing it up on the track, so you've got verified speed. You've already watched all of his film from every game, and I sort of think back to and you'll remember it well, but the years of the Michael Fords and Alfred Blues and all these guys, King Hilliards, like there might have been a headline or whatever it was, but Frank was signing two or three guys, and you look up down the road, and Terrence McGee's a starter, or whomever it might be is playing. Michael Ford's playing a big role in big games. So he certainly won't be unafraid to take three running backs in three Louisiana guys if he thinks all three of them can play here.
Yeah, and it's true, with the one exception being Spencer Ware. Shea, all the guys you mentioned were Louisiana guys, so it does sort of
and Durham is who's from Texas, Duncanville. Sorry to cut you off. Durham's the only other running back not from Louisiana that I can remember that Frank signed, being Spencer Ware being the other.
Shea Dixon's with us on 3, the Bengal Tiger. He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Shea, also saw the news today. I know Billy Embody had a chance to talk to Philip Bleedy, the defensive lineman from Indiana who's a transfer. He is going to make an official, I don't know, I guess it's not technically called an official, correct me if I'm wrong, but he is going to visit LSU. Where do the Tigers stand there with him?
Yeah, this is a guy who, remember, we've been told by Brian Kelly that they're going to be active in the portal with defensive tackles, interior players, whether you call it a nose or a DT. They're shallow there. They only return two guys on scholarship from last year's team, and that's Guillory, who's been playing very well, it appears, this spring, and has certainly been a part of the rotation for what has been years, and then Jalen Lee, who transferred in from Florida, a kid from Live Oak who was one-time LSU commit, but didn't play a ton last year. So we knew they were going to have to go get guys that go to JUCO and get Sean Washington. They end up signing a 5-star in Dom McKinley. He'll get here this summer. But in the age of the portal, right, Matt, they have to find more depth and more instant impact, I guess you would say. And they added Gio Paez out of Wisconsin. He told me he can play DT or nose. That's kind of what they're selling him on, and he kind of wanted to be in a 4-down defensive look, so that's why he's coming here. And now they're hosting Bleedy, who was at Indiana for a year, started pretty much in every game, 30 tackles. He had some quarterback hurries, but before that, he was at Texas Tech, played 34 games for them, so he's got a couple of 3 seasons under his belt there. So you're seeing them, and I guess we're obviously in a spot right now where only grad transfers are allowed to be doing all of this. The official portal window doesn't open until April 16th. Then you don't have to be a grad transfer. It could be anybody. So we'll see more names pop up then, but they've certainly attacked this veteran group here by already getting him to commit from a grad student in Paez and now hosting a guy like Bleedy who is sort of on the back end of his visits, and certainly LSU could be the pick.
It's undeniably they are getting older on the defensive line. Like you talk about Paez, who's going to be a 6-year player. Bleedy would be a 5th-year player. Guillory, a 5th-year player. Lee, a 5th-year player. They got a bunch of men out there as opposed to 18, 19-year-olds just coming into college. It seems like that's pretty intentional. Shea, I was asked by a listener, and you can always get a question in for Shea if you want. You can email us, tweet us, text us, asking about the latest with DeCorian Moore. Is he a potential flip candidate? Is that something where LSU might be concerned?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the threat level is no more now than it was when he committed, beyond that time has passed. And if you're viewing it from an LSU lens, you've held on to him in that span. And if you're viewing it through the Texas Longhorns lens, it's, hey, look, we're getting him on campus more often, and there's 6-7 months to go until the early signing period. You've got to take this back to where it started, which was in August. And remember, Colin Simmons and Caden Durham were the guys that everybody was watching that day. Colin Simmons picks Texas. His teammate Caden Durham, the running back we spoke of out of Duncanville, picks LSU. And then just days later, DeCorian Moore, who is the number one receiver in the country, and nobody's going to catch him. He is an excellent 5-star plus player. Everybody's got him as a 5-star, all the different recruiting services. He announces for LSU when he was considered a Texas lock, like his whole family had Texas ties. They were around the area. I mean, the Longhorns had shoot him into the class. And all of a sudden you look up and not only do you have DeCorian Moore, but then you get Underwood and Barry, and you've got the number one class. And he's talked a ton about growing up watching Odell and that being kind of who he modeled his game after. And obviously having Durham here, one of his teammates, helps. And we'll see. This will be a big battle in the state of Texas to try to get what is the best receiver in the country. And the good news for LSU is he's committed right now, and you've got a great class. So just sort of keep building on that. And I think you're going to have to hold on tight, but that's no surprise to anyone, given LSU sort of shocked the world whenever they got him.
Shea, before you go, any other players or positions here with the spring game coming up this weekend, which is going to be a big weekend that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I know I've talked before on the show about D-line, but at the high school level. Like, where does Bo Davis start to go with D-line commits? Because we haven't seen any new ones come in. And I'm watching that this weekend. He's hosting a number of guys. I think that we're starting to see some of these guys make their second and third visits since he's been on staff. So I'm sort of watching to see, hey, look, does someone pop? And I'll give you one name, Jeremiah McLeod. He's out of Florida, but he's committed to Mississippi State. And whenever LSU offered, and so did Florida, sort of the insiders in Starkville said, hey, watch out for this. This could be a kid who opens things back up. I've heard some of that same buzz, and now he's going to be in town again this weekend. I wouldn't be shocked if it was one of those things where he says visits, opens things back up, and LSU gets viewed sort of as the team to beat, with Florida being another watch. So I think D-line dominoes will soon start to drop here. It's just give Brad Davis those first 3 or 4 months, and then he fills up the board and goes from there.
Shea Dixon, On3, the Bengal Tiger. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Great time to jump aboard, obviously, with the spring portal window coming and spring game this weekend. Shea, we appreciate it as always, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. I said Brad Davis. I meant Bo Davis. I'll have to get used to that.
All the B. Davises. There was no sense in correcting. We all knew what you meant, but we appreciate it, Shea. Thank you.
Later, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.